Most entrepreneurs are convinced that being still or sitting still is lazy. But what if the thing that you're avoiding, 15 quiet minutes by a lake, a solo trip with a journal, a quiet drive in your car, is the thing that saves your life, the thing that saves your marriage, the thing that scales your business? Today, you're going to hear from two men who lost almost everything and rebuilt their identity and their work one solo retreat at a time. As like humans and entrepreneurs, we celebrate like going harder at the gym or hustling or grinding harder, but almost never celebrate strengthening our inner world the same way. As entrepreneurs, we tend to fall into this default of like, how can I do more? How can I hustle more? How can I stack more on my plate? And then one day you look up and you realize that the tower that you've built doesn't actually have a foundation and it's starting to shake. Welcome back to the Mind of George Show. This is where we cut through the noise and we get real about what it takes to build something meaningful. No crazy tactics, no hacks, no quote unquote secrets, just honest conversations about aligning who you are with what you do. And today's episode is for the part of you that knows that you can't outrun the noise anymore. And so I got to sit down with my friends Kyle and Eli, and they are the founders of the Solo Retreat Company, and they're the best-selling authors of The Art of a Solo Retreat. These are not just two like theory guys teaching stillness from a comfy distance. These are two men who have walked through literal wildfires, divorce, losing a business, the death of a mentor, and that terrifying moment of staring in the mirror, feeling completely numb and ready to give up. And they found their way back to success through structured stillness and solitude. And they share so much in this episode how a solo retreat on the Oregon coast, a stack of raw journal prompts, and a willingness to feel everything cracked open a brand new identity. It helped them as husbands, as fathers, as friends, and as leaders. And they don't stop at that like critical mountaintop moment. They walk us through what happens when you come home from the retreat and straight back into kids yelling, Slack blowing up, business meetings cracking, and life not slowing down just because you did. They share their proprietary reset framework for turning stillness into a repeatable strategy. How to remove the noise, how to engage with the present, how to see what's really true, envision what's next, and then how to take aligned action so that you don't slide back into the old patterns the second that the noise shows up or something doesn't go to plan. And if you have ever felt called to this work or sitting still or heard me talk about stillness and ever resisted it, you're going to laugh and maybe even cringe when I tell the story of my own retreat, where the hardest assignment that I gave a room full of entrepreneurs was the simplest. Go sit by a lake in silence for 15 minutes. Some people literally could not do it. Others came back saying it was the most powerful thing that they've done in years. And what we have to recognize as humans and entrepreneurs is the addiction to noise gets really, really deep. So if you have felt the tug ever to get away, but you keep grabbing your phone instead of your journal, you turn on Netflix or YouTube instead of sitting in silence, if burnout feels closer than you want to admit, or if you just need somebody to hand you a simple, honest way to reset your life without burning it all down, I promise you this conversation is for you. I am so excited because I think that this is one of the most profound topics, one of the most powerful tools, and one of the most simplest ones to integrate immediately that only has upside. And that is stillness and solitude. But they aren't lazy. They are a strategy to support you and blow your mind in what's possible in your life and in your business. So I invite you to hit play, to lean in, and just maybe let this be your invitation to schedule your own silence, your own solo retreat, your own stillness. But I need you to remember, and I've said this for, 700 episodes, 663, I think is this one. Relationships will always beat algorithms. And the most important one is the one that you have with yourself. And the only way to build that one is to spend time with yourself. And so without further ado, let's dive into the episode with Kyle and Eli. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Mind of George Show. I am stoked. We have a little tripod happening today. That's what we're going to call it. And I think we can call it like the tripod of stillness because I met my brothers in understanding the power of having a relationship with yourself. And so I am honored. I'm excited. I'm stoked to be joined by my friends, Kyle and Eli. So gents, welcome to the show.
Man, thank you so much for having us. The tripod.
I'm down to be part of the tripod.
Absolutely. You just kicked the tripod.
Yes, I did.
So it was kind of weird.
Funny. It was kind of weird timing.
That was weird.
There we go. I don't know where that came from, but tripod of stillness just spoke straight to my intuition, which is like the great place to start. And I want to kick this off right before we get into your backstory. Or one of my favorite lines that I've heard from you is like, burnout isn't a finish line. Love that. But, from each of your perspectives, before we even get into your backstory, if somebody was listening to this or somebody listening to this today actually takes to heart everything that you're going to share as gentlemen who have helped people navigate some interesting things and achieve great things in their life. But if somebody really like applied the things that you share today to their life, like what do you think is possible for them?
Love it, man. I'll let you kick off and I'll jump in.
Yeah, the biggest thing that we really try sharing is stillness and solitude truly is a strategy. Most people automatically kind of think of maybe solitude maybe a little lazy because it's not productive. But the truth is, when you tone out all the noise around you and you remove it, your inner voice begins to turn up. And that innate ability to start actually being creative with your thoughts and actually seeing things for what's true and then envisioning what's next in life is imperative in solitude. And so some of the stuff they will talk about is how do you experience and structure solitude and stillness, and how do you actually get something out of it rather than thinking it's just dead space you're sitting and really doing nothing.
Yeah.
So well said.
I think the only thing I would add on to that, or like another takeaway for listeners in this episode, is to create a rhythm around stillness. Whether that is a quick, hour block in your calendar where you're going out, and I call them lifestyle workouts, whether it is me on a paddleboard and it's just me and there's nobody else. I'm just being. But whatever that is, to create a rhythm, because you could do a solo retreat and then you can come back and it's all out the door when the noise kicks back on. So building in that rhythm of stillness is something that we would say is a big takeaway from today.
Oh man, I'm excited to dive in because we all speak the same love language, and I also know people listening to the podcast do like the mummy daddy thing, where I'm mummy and they won't hear it from me, but you guys are daddy and they'll hear it from you. And the way that you describe that is so powerful. I love this stillness as a strategy, but also the call out of being intentional about it and making it a part. And I say to entrepreneurs all the time is like, when we want to get stronger at the gym, we go lift weights and we celebrate the process, but we never focus on strengthening ourselves the same way. So I love that frame.
100%.
Yeah, I think as entrepreneurs, a lot of times our innate reaction is to do more.
Yes.
How can I hustle more? How can I push harder? What more can I put on my plate? And as you know, when you start building a tower that doesn't have a good foundation, it completely tumbles. And so making sure that that foundation is built with truth and identity of who you want to be is like really, really important. And so understanding, like we're saying, the strategy behind it it's just so key.
Yeah, it's huge. I love it. And so for everybody listening, just now I feel like you know who they are already, but like just to give you some context, Kyle and Eli, they founded this incredible company called the Solo Retreat Company. They're a best-selling author now of a brand new book, The Art of a Solo Retreat. And what I love so much is the intentionality behind what they teach, what they curate. So they blend guided workbooks, a physical retreat kit, curated locations, and have this incredible reset framework that literally helps us as entrepreneurs, as leaders, as humans to unplug and to do exactly what Kyle said, which is to actually slow down and start creating the space for that inner voice to turn up so that we can hear it. And I'm stoked. And like I said, one of my favorite lines that I've seen from them that I've heard is that burnout isn't the finish line. And so I'm curious from both of you. I'm assuming, and this may be wrong of me, but I'm assuming that your path into this, like stillness and stillness as a strategy, something in your lives kind of forced this pause, right? And I know a little bit of the backstory, like house fires, divorces, miscarriages, and setbacks. But what was that moment that started to bring this clarity for each of you? And like, how did you get here?
Yeah.
I'll let you jump in.
Yeah, I'll jump in and kind of get started. Back in 2018, I was living in Paradise, California, Northern California. And yeah, the big sigh already knows.
There it is. He knows. Or he don't know. He could.
Yeah. So November 8th, 2018, I woke up. And for anybody that lives in Northern California, Oregon, or even Southern California now, like hearing about a fire is very normal. It's
Yep.
not like it's rare. You're like, oh, I need to have to evacuate. Sometimes it's voluntary, sometimes it's mandatory, but you just kind of go with the flow. You take a few things that are important to you and say, okay, I'll be back. Because reality is it's not going to be your house that burns down. It's not going to be your town that burns down. Well, November 8th, 2018, sure enough, woke up and there was a fire, and they established and called it the campfire. And as time went by, I'm outside trying to clean needles off of my deck in complete panic because the speed of this fire was so fast. It was over 100 yards. So a football field a minute is how fast it was growing, and it had up to 120-foot flames. So this thing was a complete monster, just engulfing and getting closer and closer to paradise. And so, of course, the evacuations began to happen. And I started seeing smoke plumes come closer and closer to my house, and of course started seeing spot fires. So I loaded up a piece of luggage for my wife, me, and my son. I had to go grab my dog and grab my son from daycare, which was actually towards the fire. And from that point on, as I was driving away from my house, I kind of looked back and I said, I think this might be the last moment I see my house. I just had that feeling. And sure enough, my parents had just moved up there and retired. They wanted to be near their son, and they were about a mile down the road. So I also had them in the back of my mind as well. And I'm telling my parents, like, we have to evacuate. It's time. We need to go. And of course, my mom's like, well, I need to pack, makeup. I'm like, Mom, like, you got to get out now. So I went and got my son, and there was so much gridlock up there. It was, I mean, a lot of people have probably seen the 60 Minutes. They've seen all the documentaries. Ron Howard did one. Matthew McConaughey is coming out with a movie in December on Apple that's going to be really big called The Lost Bus. But it was really scary, and it was fear was real at that moment for me, and took me hours and hours to get out of there. The whole story of getting out is crazy. I almost ran out of gas. My car started overheating. Got gas at a gas station. Power went out. Sure enough, a mile down the road, that thing was on fire. The timing of everything was truly crazy. But unfortunately, the day before that, me and my wife also experienced a miscarriage. And so the way to put in terms of how much loss I experienced, I lost my home. I lost my parents' home. So any type of family heirlooms was gone. My business in downtown, and I lost a child within a 24-hour period. And so the only way to really put it into perspective is everyone talks about peaks and valleys and, the lows and highs. I was digging a trench in the valley. I was so low. But fortunately, very personal development, self-aware individual, a resilient. I've done the seminars, I've listened to the podcast, I've read the books, and I fought back in a way of standing up and moving forward and putting my head down. But during those years of rebuilding my life, I suppressed the emotions. I never addressed them. They'd creep up every so often, but I ignore and avoid them. And what happened was I would see these small points of anxiety and depression, but I didn't really understand it until we moved up to Bend, Oregon, and there was a fire and there was a plume. Remember the day at the office, I went outside and I was like, I see it. And I looked at Eli. I was like, I need to go home because I was in complete freak out mode. And it was real PTSD. And so after that, I said, I should probably get this checked out. Went to a therapist, diagnosed me with severe anxiety, depression, and PTSD, sure enough. And so I was aware of what my diagnosis was, and I brought it to the forefront, but I still didn't address it. Like I was like, okay, I have these issues. Like, again, I'm resilient. I can fight back. I'm good. We're building a business, head down, had another kid, just moved up to Bend. So I was happy, quote unquote. But all up until April 21st, 2021, where 4:30 in the morning, I woke up in a complete anxiety and panic attack and looked at myself in the mirror and I saw nothing. I saw the future. I didn't know who I was looking at. I was numb. I had no emotions. And I was ready to commit suicide. And it was one of the scariest feelings of no feeling I've ever had in my life. And sure enough, I was sitting there looking in the mirror and I heard the word escape. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? It was an audible voice. And I was like, okay, most people would think escape is escape my responsibility of living. But I looked at it as I need to escape my current life right now, the reality that I think I'm living and the identity that I thought I've created. And I need to go revisit who I am and why I do what I do and where am I heading in life. So sure enough, my wife helped me with some primitive journal notes and prompts. And I went out to the Oregon coast and I did a solo retreat. Didn't know that
Mm.
was a thing. I just knew I needed to leave. And on that solar retreat, it completely changed my life. I re-identified who I was, that I needed to show up again for myself. So then I could show up for the man, the husband, the best friend, the father, the business owner that I needed to be. But the most important thing was I addressed those emotions finally. I cried, I laughed, and I went through what I needed to go through. And I did some self discovery. I reflected on my past, figured out some limited beliefs. But most importantly, I was saying, what's next? Because I can't live the way that I've been living and ignoring all of this different stuff. And what I did was there was so much noise in my life for years. I was just keeping up with it. It was how I controlled the chaos was give me more because I know back here this stuff was really brewing. And so I came back. Eli, sure enough, was like, wow, Kyle's different. My wife was happy, my children, everyone saw it. And sure enough, he went through crazy stuff, which he can jump in a second. But the one thing that I learned from all of this experience is when you're in the moment of all of this and you're seeing that, you're going through these trivial points in your life, you don't see what actually is going to be the domino effect afterwards of that. And I thought, oh, this small little solo retreat that I went on was just something I did to go escape, to figure myself out. But sure enough, years later, I learned this was a gift that was given to me to be able to
Mm.
share with so many people, but more importantly, share with my best friend when he was going through some really hard stuff. So when life is like giving you stuff and throwing stuff at you, like really be there in the moment because you don't know how that's going to reflect later on. But I'll let you kind of jump in and
Yeah.
go over it.
Yeah. And again, Kyle and I too have been best friends and business partners in 4 different companies.
Mm.
We've been through the ringer together, personally, professionally, all the above. And the relationship between friends has always been the first part before the business side. And I think what he just said is a testament to that. And in 2021, literally within weeks of him getting back, and George, you and I have talked about this, but I went through a divorce. I found out I was being cheated on, and my marriage ended. And in that 2-week span, we basically lost our business. We had to let go of everybody, and that hurt potentially more. Seeing people around a table, 15 people at one time, having to cut them all. I think that may have hurt more than the divorce. And then I lost my great uncle, who truly was this North Star. He was an absolute legend in the military, somebody that I looked up to, and somebody that had just a massive amount of accreditation in the military. So I kind of like looked up to this guy. I lost him, and it was a span of 2 weeks. And when I was going through that, Kyle was, I'm so lucky he went through what he went through, because he basically handed me this set of workbooks and said, dude, you got to get away. Get away, go remove the noise and find some stillness to hear that inner voice. And the question that I kept asking myself, and George, would be fun to kind of play back and forth with you through a divorce, is it me? Like that question kept coming up in the head, is like, is it me that I went through the divorce and I lost the business? Or the business potentially is because of me. Now I can't put food on the table for them. I'm a chronic people pleaser. So that question continued to pound in my head. So on the retreat, that moment of clarity that you're asking for is really dissecting that question. Like, is it me? And what I found through that pinnacle moment that you asked about to kind of tee this whole thing up, is realigning with a purpose and realigning with this new identity, and a fresh start, and trying to shift the mindset of being a glass half full guy. I've always been that, always. And people look at me for positivity. And I was at this point where I was very much the opposite, very glass half empty. So trying to re-identify and come back to who I was, realign with a purpose, and then really blow that question out of the water. And like, it was not me at all. And re-identified that whole part. So the solo retreat, between the two of us, pivotal moments of clarity. And we did that in stillness, but doing it in structured stillness so that we can double click into those questions.
Oh man, I felt all of that in my bones. Now I know why we relate so well when we connected.
For sure, man.
One of the things that I want to highlight and call out that you said, from both of you combined, as I'm synthesizing this, Kyle, you had said this: we never allow ourselves to actually feel the feelings, right? And Eli, to your point of this perpetual people pleaser, like my identity
Yep.
was constantly like the guy who has the answers, the guy who's responsible for everything, the guy who can do everything. And, I would stack more chaos because chaos gave me a hiding place.
Yeah.
Because if there was always something broken, and my dear friend Alex Sharfin says this better than anybody. He says it about business, but he's like, if you're constantly fighting fires, there's a good chance you're the arsonist.
Mm.
And I had to recognize
That's really good. Yeah, that's
I had to recognize that my comfort zone was chaos.
Yeah.
And it's not because it was easy, but it's because it was familiar.
Yes.
And when you talked about that, looking in the mirror and feeling numb, I had that same moment, except I had a therapist break me because I was convinced. I was saying things like, I shouldn't be here anymore. I'm just a robot. I've killed people. I've been in bad situations. Like, I'm poisonous to the world. I'm just numb.
Mm.
And I was like, I'm incapable of empathy. I'm incapable of sympathy. And she looked me dead in the eye, and this broke me. And she's like, numb is a feeling.
It's good.
And it like shattered my hiding place. Like, it shattered my paradigm.
Wow.
And she's like, you've just never taken time to coexist with yourself.
Wow.
Dang.
That's
And
amazing.
that's what started my journey on this and in all of this. And so I resonate so deeply
Dang.
with everything that you shared. And, the relating part is that people pleaser in me
Mhm.
is the mistake I made is I would put meaning on my emotional expression. Right. And now, as a facilitator and a breathwork teacher, my number one thing I say is if it's coming up, it's coming out. Just let it out. Right. It's not a story associated. It's not an identity associated. It's just the same way my 8-year-old son, when he gets angry, he doesn't hold it in. He just yells.
Totally.
And
Absolutely.
then 30 seconds later, he's like, all right, Dad, you want to go play with paper airplanes? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. Like, it's this thing that's trained out of us
Yes.
over time. And the way that you guys just articulated that story, like for everybody listening, I have questions, but I think it's a moment to pause and reflect. Because whether it's a big event or a little event, I think the core is any event or any situation or any part of our life where we don't feel like it's ours anymore is not an invitation to add things to the plate. It's typically an invitation to take things off the plate and create space.
Absolutely. There's a reason why
100%.
all of the biggest, highest performing individuals on this earth do these things. They do retreats, dark retreats, solo retreats, think weeks. They do it for clarity because about high performers, big time CEOs, actors, athletes, like their life is pure chaos.
Yep.
And in order to know and think what's next and be able to actually take a look at their life, you have to take a step back. And it is just not who we are. It's not how we're built. We are built to run after the goals, run after the next milestone, and keep moving and keep going. And we think it's unproductive to take a step back when truly the most productive thing you could do.
Yeah.
Hands down, like nothing more than that is taking a step back. It's all you have to do.
I feel like you've summarized like 500 episodes of my podcast better than I have. 100%, because I talk about this all the time.
Yeah. And it's the thing
Who needs
about
AI
it.
when you got Kyle Nelson?
The thing about it is we think it's so hard to do. We always have an excuse to not take a step back. And it honestly is the easiest thing to do, but it is a very difficult thing to do, but it's the easiest action you can take. But there's just so much excuse around it. There's so much excuse around it because taking a step back, that's what I need to do in order to go forward. Come on. Like, you're delusional. There's no way.
We heard this analogy from Mel Robbins a long time ago, and we've used it and we've talked a lot about it. But it's about the cycle of a tree, and it really relates well to kind of what you said. But in the seasons of spring and summer, a tree is growing. There are times where the leaves are expanding. The green pigment on the leaves are actually attracting that sunlight. And as a return, the tree is giving those leaves more water and it is growing. So it's in a season of growth where it's adding more things to its life in order to grow and to survive. Now, when you look at the seasons of fall and winter, the only way the tree can survive is dumping those leaves and subtracting things in its life. Otherwise, it dies. It's suffocated and it dies. because there's not resources to go there. So we always tell people that life is about seasons, where there's seasons of growth and then there's seasons of subtraction, that things do not serve a purpose anymore. And that's totally okay. It's normal nature. And that's how we've related it to people. And it just seems to snap and click to people. So I owe Mel
Yeah.
a big
It's a
one for
huge
that
one.
one.
It's huge. I'll start dropping Bible verses on when a seed falls into the ground and dies and it multiplies. Like it's surrounded by us. And I'm curious how you both feel about this or think about this. So, for the person listening to this who like resonates deeply with like what we're saying, or they feel like their business isn't theirs, or, they're out of a relationship, but they just went to coping mechanisms. Like, when you guys are talking about this, I resonate with everything you say. I feel like I could just shut up and listen and be like, see, told you, they said it. They know, like I've been saying this and learning this. Where do you think the best place for somebody to focus first is? Is it like creating space? Is it creating structure? Is it leaning in and getting support? Like for somebody who resonates with anything that was shared already, like where's that actual like first step for them in your opinion?
Reading our book.
I would say first step is giving yourself permission.
Yep.
Is like Kyle said, high performers, the last thing they want to do is to pause and stop. They think they're going backwards. They're not being productive. But until you give yourself that permission, it's just like going on vacation where when you finally get there, it takes 1 to 2 days to really unwind because you're still in that work mode. But if you were to say, hey, George, I'm here. I have everything is done, put away, and I'm giving myself permission to shut off and just be a human for a while, you will instantly relax and you'll have way better time. So first step, give yourself that permission. You are worthy of taking some time for yourself. So I would say permission is the first step. Did you add anything different?
No, it's probably one of the most difficult things to do.
It is.
Because that is not, we don't want to give up. We're not worth self-care and love.
Yes.
Right? Like that's not what we do. Empathetic. We want to help others. We're people, like he said, when you said earlier, chronic people pleaser.
I've been saying that a ton.
Yeah. That's like that right there, right? It's to a point of being chronic. Like it is so bad because, and what I see in that is that means you are doing nothing for yourself. It's to a mental health issue almost, right?
100%.
And so giving yourself the permission to actually do that it's impossible for some people because they don't see it. They're like, there's no way. I have to help others.
Or
you're the arsonist. I like that.
I mean, truthfully, like I tell people this very openly, this podcast, like my coaching for 15 years has basically been an accountability tool of everything I'm working on because I can't hide from it. Right. And one of the things that I said after that therapist said it to me, and like I keep in business now, is that our businesses give us a place to avoid the one relationship we're guaranteed to spend the rest of our life with, which is ourselves. Right. Yep. Like even the world that we live in, it is literally designed to monetize our attention. Right. And I joke with people too. I'm like, if you're not paying for the platform, you're the product. Yep. Right. But there's all these like celebrated places where we are truthfully rewarded to some degree for avoiding ourselves and even giving ourselves that permission slip. But my always question is, at what cost? Yeah. Right. Like maybe short-term benefit, like, oh, I'm scrolling through YouTube shorts. I'm on Netflix. Like, I took my weekend clarity day, except I filled it with all this other noise, and we never see the downstream effects of that.
100%, man.
When your physical body like grows unhealthy and you start seeing things are happening, you go to the doctor. And then the doctor will give you the permission and prescription to get better with their pharmaceutical, good. Mm-hmm. When it comes to your mental health, we go to a therapist or we go to a psychologist to help us with those things, but they're still aiding you through the process. Beautiful things can happen during it, but being able to actually have that self-awareness of saying and looking at yourself in the mirror and be like, wow, it's me. Like I need to actually do this and go, and giving yourself that prescription, huge. And that's one of the most powerful things you can do, because when you go on something like a soul retreat in solitude, the crazy part about it is everything that you're learning and doing is all self-done and self-intrinsic and motivated. So the power that comes out of a retreat of what you're about to do and what you just learned is 10x, tenfold, like the most empowering thing a human can do, because you did that. A doctor didn't tell me. A therapist didn't tell me. A coach didn't tell me. The book didn't tell me. The podcast didn't tell me. I told me. Until you've never experienced that moment right there is one of the most life-changing, self-improving thing you could ever experience.
Yeah. I'm just going to acknowledge the fear I had because Eli, you had mentioned this on like the chronic people pleaser. For me, it was the chronic acceptance of others because I never accepted myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I really started unpacking it, and that I still unpack every single day, and Kyle, to your point of like the things I did for myself, I used to convince myself that I was afraid of failure. When in actuality, I was petrified of success because of the responsibility that came with it. So it was like my way of shucking responsibility.
Wow.
Right. Because to your point, I'm like, oh, well, I have other salaries on the line. Like, and what it did is it like eliminated my hiding places. Cause I'm like, oh, if I'm broken or if I avoid these things, then I won't have this responsibility. Well, the craziest thing is I have the responsibility no matter what. I'm a father, I'm a partner, I'm a business owner. And so it was just this like sneaky stagnation trap that was like toxic, and it's self-fulfilling too, because the more you're in it, the more bias you get. And it's like, look, you can't, look, you here. And then you get more and more desperate, right? Like I even talked about this on a podcast the other day, like the knowing trap. Like we all know what to do better, but we go out and consume all this information, like looking for that permission slip. I'm like, but when do we just stop ruminating on it? And when do we start taking that action on it? And I found for me, it took until everything broke. There were always these giant catalysts. Sure. And my growth was always reactive to the world around me versus being proactive because I'm worth it.
Absolutely. Such a good point. And I think when people are out there they're looking for that quick fix, that thing that's going to solve everything really quick. When they know deep down, if they want to get a six pack, you got to put the work in, you've got to do the sit-ups, and you've got to eat well. You know what there's no fancy way to get around it. Like that's what you've got to do. It's the same thing with permission, that permission slip you talked about. Like, you know what you've got to do. So figure out how to give yourself that prescription, get out there and do it.
What do you two think is like the biggest misconceptions that people have around like stillness or pouring into themselves or like what we would call a solo retreat? Like, what do you see are like the biggest misconceptions that people have around that?
I can do it later.
Yeah, I can do it later.
The number one thing that we hear.
That is a good one.
I'll do it later. That's the rebuttal. It's like, I don't need to do it now. Well, be reactive then. That's fine. Like, let's work on being proactive. I mean, because a lot of things that we talk about in our story, like those are the extremes. Not everyone coming to us is going through these crazy pivotal moments in their life, divorces, homes burning down. Like, no. The truth though is like, if we can help people like be like, well, let's not wait till next spring. Let's look at it now. Where are your priorities? Like, where is it that you're looking at this? And another misconception, and then I'll let you, I know you got some tip of your tongue.
You're fine. You keep going.
Is the word retreat. Like it's people think it's, like I'm going to go on this vacation for myself so I can do it later, when it's like, no, this is like really good, healthy, like mental work you're going to be doing. And really helping people understand that is really something that we deal with every day. Because it's something in our ads or something in a podcast or something in our book, like kind of they're like, oh, what is that? Right. And then they start thinking about the good part of it. Ooh, a cabin. Ooh, it's cozy. But that's not what actually brought you here. Let's talk about what brought you here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We wrote a line in the book. We wrote a quote that said, dig the well before you're thirsty. That is about being proactive. You don't have to have the massive breakdown to go on a solo retreat. I think the first one that comes to mind when you say biggest misconception of stillness or retreat is it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Like, man, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to sit in solitude, and what am I going to do?
Yeah, I mean, journal now. What?
And that's where people, like, their ADD kicks in and they just freeze, writer's block, or whatever you want to say. And that they're wasting time.
Yeah.
Hands down, the biggest misconception is wasting time.
Like, we ask people, when was the last time you had time to yourself? Like real time to yourself? People, they don't know. They're just like, I don't know. not a lunch
Like
break where you went
5 minutes in the bathroom. I
yeah,
don't
like
know.
that's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Like, when was the last time? And most people have never experienced it, and that's why there's such a fear around it because they
Yeah.
don't know what will happen,
Yep.
what will be heard, what will get all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
it's crazy. We can fill our calendars with everything else around us, the external, but when we want to work on the internal, it's like we've never done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny. You guys will laugh at this, but I had a hypnotherapist on my podcast years ago, a friend of mine, client, and he was a monk. He was in monastery in silence for 7 years. And he came out and now he's like an F-bomb dropping coach, which I love. Like he's hilarious. But he said this better than anybody I ever heard. And he summarized life in one moment, this whole conversation. He's like, if you can't poop without your phone, you've never lived a day in your life.
It's so
Mhm.
true.
Mhm.
It's good.
That's
It's
really
hilarious,
good.
but it's really true. Like,
I
I
love
think
that. That's amazing.
yeah.
I'm just gonna take a quick second to kind
Yeah.
of take that
And
in.
you kind of think about like the thought of pooping and then you're going and touching your phone, like that whole thing too. Like,
Right? Right? Like there's
no,
Weird,
it's actually
dude.
pretty
I
gross.
definitely used your phone the other day. Really weird.
I could do an entire solo retreat by myself and just unpack the depth and layers in that one statement.
Dude,
You
it's
could.
huge.
You could do that. Wow. Oh,
It was one of those, like, it stopped me in my tracks and I was like, holy moly. And it's so powerful because like when I hear you guys talk about this, like I realize, I think Kyle, you were talking about this of like all these excuses that we make up, right? Where we're like, oh, I'll do it later, right? Or it's a retreat or it's a vacation or whatever, insert whatever objection you might be thinking about right now. And I'm a very simple creature. Like I was a Marine, right? I'm not the most educated person in the world, but I don't ever go to the gym and I'm like, oh man, I'm work out today. It didn't hurt. I'm so glad I'm getting weaker. I go and I'm like, oh, I need to sweat a little bit. Like I need to push a little bit. I'm like, oh, I'm in the middle of this run. And yet that's like the playbook, but the player, me being the one who's responsible at the driver's seat for everything, I never looked at it the same way. And I was like, the world is kind of our gym, right? But it's not going to give us the workout. We have to kind of dictate how we go about it and how we look at it. And I had to reframe it in my brain of like hard conversations. That's a really, really easy one, right? Like I think about everybody listening right now. Each one of us probably has in our brain right now 2 to 3 hard conversations we're avoiding,
Yep.
right? They never get better with time. It only gets worse, it permeates, it gets, horrible and the symptoms spread. And then we can all think of a moment where we had the confidence and courage to have that conversation. And then we took a big emotional dump because we sighed and we're like, oh my God, I feel so much better that we had the conversation, regardless of what the result is. And I think that like that is the resistance that I've seen to people taking the space. And you said this earlier. It's not because we don't know we should do it or because we think it's a bad idea. I think for me and for the people I've seen, it's because I wasn't ready or I didn't have the tools or structure
Mm.
to face the feelings that I got so used to suppressing that there was nowhere to hide from them.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for sure. I mean, the structure helps you not spiral,
Mhm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Easily go and want to do a personal retreat and you can spiral pretty dang quick. And so
Yeah.
I think something that's creating some structure for it is huge.
Yeah.
Something I was going to touch on a little bit more is in chapter 5 of our book. It's the chapter is called Remove the Noise. And that's the R of the reset framework that we have. And, we were talking about, the no phone while you're taking a poop, that thing. What we talk about in the book in that chapter also is so many times we think, oh, I can take a step back and I can give myself 5, I'll go on a walk. That'll be my time. Sure enough, what are you doing on the walk? You're putting your headphones in, right? And you're listening to a podcast. That's not removing the noise. Oh, I'm going to have a nice quiet lunch at home. I'm going to go home for 20 minutes. What do? You throw YouTube on, right? That's not removing the noise. So we even say we do these things, but we really aren't. Oh, I'm going to be, and there's these moments and times that are perfect examples of when you could do this. Like when you're driving to work or you're driving to the gym, what do? You throw a podcast on. Like these are moments that you can have what Eli was talking about, finding that rhythm in your life every day, finding those small moments that we're not bringing noise into our life. And those are times that we can actually cherish and have to ourselves. Because a lot of people say, well, I just don't have the time. When do I do that? When you do, but you constantly are drowning that with complete noise that does not need to be. Because why? Because we're operated to always be productive and always moving and always going. I always have to be listening to the podcast to keep me going, or the Audible book, right? I
That
gotta,
edge. You need the edge.
you always have to. And slowly that drift begins to happen. You start drifting into a spiral in an area that's like, okay, now I have to be reactive. Now I have to, and we can never understand why we can't slow down. Well, it's because you always have to be tuned in.
Always. In that same chapter and on that same rhythm you're talking about, there was a popular science study that came out, and we talk about it in that same chapter, where it gave people the option to either sit for 15 minutes in silence and in their own thoughts, or self-administer a shock to themselves. 70% of people said, I want the shock. So that 30% of people, they are willing to sit there, and those are the people, the high performers. Those are the Bill Gates and the Matthew McConaughey's and the Aaron Rodgers that are doing these things to find clarity, and look at where they are. So that was a very, very interesting study that we found while we were doing the book.
Yeah. I hate to own this, but I have a few thoughts, and I want your thoughts on them. I'm gonna throw this out just to chew on and get some back. Right. I think one thing that I'm feeling in my body, and I'm just reflecting on my journey, is part of the other delay that I would create is it was either all or nothing. It was perfect or it didn't matter. And it was like this task to be done. And I've shared this on the podcast before. I had a profound thing happen in Costa Rica 2016 where I walked away from a business, closed it, gave it away. And Jim Quick was a dear friend of mine. And he said, one of your biggest challenges is you're allowing the world to program how your brain thinks. And I had a very wise mentor say, like, you need to create the space to allow you think. And so when I left that, I made a rule that I wasn't allowed to consume content for a year. No podcasts, no books, no music, no television shows. I've detoxed off opiates. It was harder, 100% harder. And it was 6 months of hell because I didn't know what to do. I removed every single thing, but it became so profound and so powerful. I did it for 2.5 years. And ironically, if I look back, the most successful times in my life, the biggest clarity, the most business ideas, the best execution. And since then, it's something that I teeter-totter on, of like going back in, and I'm very selective, but I fall into the same habits and patterns.
Sure.
But it absolutely changed my life. And I was convinced, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to fail. No one's going to know I'm here. I'm not on social media. I'm not reading books. I'm not listening. But all my best business ideas and business successes came from that period. My New York Times bestselling book was right before that. New business ideas, new coaching models, new consulting. But I had never given myself the space to allow that voice and that clarity. And now it is something that I do every day. I don't even have a radio. Like, I think I have a radio in my car. I couldn't tell you. Like, even my 8-year-old son drives in silence with me. We just talk and we look out the window and we create that space. And so I wanted to share that because that noise thing is so profound and so powerful. And, for everybody listening, I think it's important to hear it from 3 people, because I have a feeling you'd agree with me. Every single thing that we consume is programming us either to help us or to hurt us.
Absolutely.
But everything, the songs we listen to, the shows we watch, the music we listen to, and there's almost like this cleansing that comes when you create that space. It's like you cleanse the noise to create the clarity. And then you have to also be committed to that clarity, right? It's not this instant every time. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go sit for 5 minutes on a log and God's going to give me the greatest download of my life. Like, you kind of got to earn it to some degree.
Absolutely.
That's amazing, man. That is so cool that you did that. I'm still thinking about
Never
that.
heard anyone do that.
That is
last year I kind of
amazing-
detoxed off of social media.
For sure.
Yeah, but that's cool, man. Yeah, and it's just it just shows, like, it's just the power and what it's doing to our psyche. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the people that developed all these apps are like the ones that what's Was it?
They're working on dopamine.
Right.
They're on
Yeah. Dopamine.
Yep.
Like, specialists in
neuroscientists.
neuroscience. Thank you.
Yeah.
Neuroscientists and specialists in dopamine. And that you just got to keep chasing it. And so it's
Oh, I miss the days when you'd get to the bottom of Instagram and it says you're all caught up and it wouldn't refresh,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
then they realized they weren't making money. And I mean,
Hey.
I've talked about this on the show too, but one of my friends had Netflix as a client and he went to their annual meeting and they listed their top 5 biggest competitors, right? YouTube was one, TikTok was one. They had sleep listed as one of their competitors.
that is crazy. Like that's how in it. That's how deep they are.
They're
Like,
deep.
dude. Destruction of mankind. Like when your competitor is sleep.
That is insane.
Think about it.
That's cool. That is so cool.
That's
I've got
sickening.
goosebumps again 2 times the podcast.
Getting rid of my subscription.
Yeah.
So I have a question because like we've been diving deep into like solitude and space, right? I'm curious from your both perspective or one of yours, like for somebody listening to this who's like done the like weekend off, right? Or took the couple hours, but they just ended up like spiraling and like spinning wheels. Like what's step 1 for someone who's like never done intentional solitude with structure?
For sure. It would be finding an outlet for structure, whether that is somebody that you follow that has said something, maybe some journal prompts, a self-guided solo retreat like what we do. I mean, we are providing the structure for that.
Yeah.
If you're going to go and you haven't had success by sitting in the woods for a night, there's a reason for that, right? Especially if you're a high performer. Your brain is just going to sit there and twirl. What we always say about structure and the program and the workbooks and stuff is all you have to do is show up, trust the process,
Open the book. That's it.
open the book,
That's all I gotta do.
open the workbook. And at that point, and CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, they want something to follow. They want to know, at least for the most part, what is next and or have some reassurance that there is something that I'm following to lead me to that outcome.
Yeah.
If you go out there with nothing and a blank journal, it'll come back blank.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And not to knock like silent retreats and dark
not at all.
retreats. Like there are times for that, for people and for everyone. What we do though is create a place for people that need the structure.
Yeah.
Because most of us, as you know, what we find is people that are going out by themselves trying to, get some clarity, they end up worrying about what they're going to be getting out of it the whole time. That's like what their thought process is. They're just like, well, what am I going to get out of this? What am I going to get out of this? Am I wasting it's the hamster wheel, right? You're sprinting and sprinting, but there's no momentum and they get stuck in that. So by being able to actually go and have some comfort level of structure, so it doesn't make it so scary and there's not so much fear around it, is really one of the biggest ways that also we help people give themselves the permission, because they think like, oh, I'm just going to waste my time. The weekend getaway, that sounds great. But so that structure helps people kind of walk into that.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you, I'm just going to interject on that get clarity thing. Like, what are the other mistakes you see people make when it comes to like, I'm just trying to get clarity, right? That gets thrown around all the time. And I heard the first thing is like expectation of what it looks like. What are some of like the other mistakes you see people make when it goes to like trying to get or find this clarity?
Yeah. I would say, let's talk about entrepreneurs because that one comes to my gut first, is they are, we see fear kick in, not fear about being alone or maybe even like spending the time. It's more fear of maybe discovering something that they didn't want to discover about the company. We're talking business right now. Maybe it's like, man, I don't know if this is the right business idea. Maybe it doesn't align with my values anymore. Maybe there's something wrong, or maybe this is not the right model. We see that being a really big linchpin for somebody to go on a retreat. Instead, we've actually shifted the messaging when we have a CEO. It's like, man, I'm a little fearful. Like I might have spent like 5 years going down the wrong path and I can't sleep at night. Well, what if a solo retreat validated that you are going down the right way? Maybe this is in alignment with your values and your mission. And now they come back and like, yep, I'm good. I'm on the right path. I can sleep at night again. So we see that like clarity roadblock come up for a lot of entrepreneurs in doing a retreat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that lands for me. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I know the closet's there. and I know there's skeletons in it, and I can even tell you what skeletons are in it. But if I open the door, it becomes real. And right now, it's giving me this "it's not there" bias.
Well,
It's
you
not
think about
there.
an entrepreneur. It's like how many hours, days, weeks, years do we spend on second guessing, on the anxiety of the decisions, on thinking of the strategy, than just implementing it?
Yes.
You could just spend a few days like with some structure to affirm like, okay, that is a good strategy. Now I can get going. So you're not in that anxiety wheel of second guessing yourself.
Earning more time.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather know now than 5 years
Just do it,
later?
man.
Yeah.
Like, and the position you're in right now, you're not going to get that clarity and answer. Like
Nope.
the reason why you're there is because you're there. If that makes sense, right? It's like you are in that cycle of just constant second guessing of, am I doing the right thing? Am I hiring the right person? It's the right agency I'm working with. Is this the right podcast I need to be on? Whatever. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, because I think even the anxiety piece, right? And I think, like the simple definition of anxiety is like anxiety is thinking about the future, things that happen or haven't happened. Depression's like reflecting on the past, right? Both rob us from our present. And when I think about anxiety, the ways to really uproot or pattern interrupt anxiety is number one, state change.
Yep.
And then number two is implementation so that our brain can get new evidence, which is called episodic memory, that the thing that we're afraid of isn't actually true because we're taking this implementable action that's giving us different evidence, but it can't be done in the same container that we're currently in, right? It needs a state change, right? That's why I run my retreats. And even when I do my intensives with clients, they're like, why can't we do it remotely? I'm like, I need you to come to Montana. And they're like, why? I'm like, it's a state change. It's a space change. It's a different environment, right? And so even if you're listening to this, that might mean like, oh, I've been trying to do this in front of my laptop. Like, no, go sit somewhere you've never sat before.
Yes.
Like change a pattern, like get in your car and drive in silence, except don't set a GPS and drive a different way home, right? Like start to create some pattern interrupts or changes so that you actually have to be present to it. Because I have a question, because you guys see so many people and have experienced so many people going through solo retreats or stillness days or reflections and these structures and these prompts. And when I think about it, if I'm thinking about it in goals, right? Goal number one, I would consider phase one as actually just to exist and release, right? To release whatever that is, to feel that fear, to feel that emotion. After that release, I would say goal number two is clarity. And then after clarity, I would say goal number three is implementation.
Right.
Right. And so where do you see or think the most people get stuck when it comes to either of those buckets?
Right.
And like, what do you like recommend, or how have you personally navigated that?
Yeah. The implementation and integration is what we call it.
Yep.
Definitely. Like we get people that do the retreats, but they backslide again because either not to show up to our masterminds, or they chose not to be coached with us afterwards, or they chose not to follow their own guidelines that they created, and they're just back at what they used to be. Like out of this retreat thinking you're version 2.0, and you're excited, you're moving, and 2 weeks later, you're back at it, George. You're the same George you've always been, and then that starts messing with your psyche. Oh, that was a waste of time, or oh man, I that was funny of me to think that's who I was, that I thought I could be. No, this is reality now. When really you just need that accountability and having an integration program ready to go for you. And we most people do go through, they work with us afterwards, but I feel like that's the biggest thing that we.
Yeah. I would say when you talked about like phase one, phase two, phase three, you almost nailed what we do, or to a T.
Pretty much, yeah.
The one that we flipped though, because we had it like that when we first started, and then we had people go through the program, they loved it, and we got feedback around flipping phase two to phase one, and vice versa. And the reason for that is they would get there and they'd start off on they would kind of go down this really path of fear, emotional baggage, like looking at their limiting beliefs. Yeah. That would be kind of phase one, and they would kind of get in this rut. So instead, we flipped it to clarity being phase one and fear being phase two. And that helped a ton because it allowed people to realize strengths. So the self-awareness part that we talked about, and things that they love to do that they haven't done and haven't taken time for themselves. Once they're in that nice positive state, they have change of environment, change of energy. They're in a new spot, a cool spot that they haven't been before. Now they can get into the real nitty gritty, the fear, emotional baggage, limiting beliefs, all of that stuff. And then again, you talked about clarity and then next steps kind of after that.
Yeah, I actually love that reframe. I think I look at that and just my personal take. I think both are perfect entry points. It depends on the state of the person going into it.
100%.
It
Yeah.
totally does.
Because I know for me, and this might be the bias of like being a recovering personal development coach and doing all this work for so many years, I can hide in the clarity piece.
Yeah.
Easy.
Where I'm like, oh no, like it could look like this. It could, and it's just a new way for me to avoid the discomfort of that feeling that I currently have. Like I'm so open about my feelings. I'm like, this is a struggle. This is a struggle.
Totally.
That it goes in either way. So I'm curious because I have to close the loop for my brain because you mentioned your reset framework. Would you mind just explaining like what your framework is, like what the reset stands for, just to paint the picture?
Sure. Let you jump in and all.
Cool. Yeah, so it's an acronym, of course. So the R is remove the noise. So
Yeah.
really what we've been talking about, and really the whole
Absolutely.
program built around it is removing the noise of life. And that's the first step of doing it. Then the E is engaging with the present. So really just like feeling yourself, being human again and being you and just seeing what you're feeling and hear it and listen. Like a lot's going to happen right
Yeah.
there. And then once you start feeling that presence, you're going to see what's next. You're going to start really feeling like, okay, what are the next steps I can take? And seeing what, excuse me, not what's next, seeing what's true.
Yeah.
Sorry, next is later. Seeing what's true. So then that's when you start really doing that reflective work, self-discovery, and really understanding who you are, what you thought your identity is, and where you need to re-identify, what your limited beliefs are, what some of that emotional baggage holding on to. And then the E is envisioning what's next. So really just vision crafting. Like, where do I want to be? Where do I need to head? Now that I know what's stopping me and I have some clarity in my fears, knowing that my fears are just excuses and my excuses are just lies to myself, like, how do I get through that? And of course, the T is taking aligned action. So what is that next action I have to take that is aligned with who I want to be that I need to do? So remove the noise, engage with the present, see what's true, envision what's next, take aligned action.
And that trickles and bleeds into everything that we do. All of our masterminds, all of the different programs that we have, we try and stay true to that framework because it really is speaking to a solo retreat. Taking action is, like Kyle mentioned, it is the most important part of integrating. The noise starts to come back in. The radio comes on when they turn the car back on, when they're leaving their spot, like instant noise right there. So how do we take the next step? Taking that aligned action. So that's what we're passionate about. Is preventing that backsliding.
Yeah. What? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's really hard though. Like you go back home, you've got kids screaming. Your wife is being like, well, did you get what you wanted out of it? All this different stuff, or husband or whatever. Like you back and you turn your phone on, Slack starts going off. But like coming back with like having the presence of like stronger self-awareness and intention of like the moments that are happening rather than seeing it as chaos, seeing it as opportunity and how like to deal with that, because that piece will never go away. You cannot hide from the chaos. It's how we react to it and deal with it is what we can control. So being able to walk out of the retreat with that mindset, huge for people.
And a tool chest. I mean, that's what the reset framework is. Hopefully it's an easy way for people to pull that thing out of the tool chest and remember what they did in
reset
a
at any
great
moment.
space. Exactly.
Yeah, I think I love that. I'm gonna synthesize one of the things that you said because I think it's not even reacting to the chaos. It's no longer reacting and it's knowing how to respond. Because when I think about these moments, like you can go to a 1-day solo retreat, a 3-day, read your book, do all of it. But at each one of those, I say this to my clients all the time when they come for an intensive or when they come to my event. The first thing I say in the ground rules is I want you to understand something right now. You're the only one here. And when you leave here, you're going to go home a different person, but everybody else is still the same. So there's an awareness that has to come with that. And so every one of these moments, these clarity moments, even if you go on like a solo retreat in nature with your journal, it's not that you're on the same field anymore. You're actually on a brand new field, but that integration piece is coming and putting the lanes or the bumpers back on to protect at this level and protect that integration. And it's the most important part.
Absolutely.
Like as somebody who's facilitated breath work and done this for years, I'm like, no. This is not the finish line. this is the starting line. Like you hit reset, new race, gun goes off. But now it's like what bumpers, what parameters, because I find, and this is the most beautiful part, is like once you see, you can't unsee, which means you have this new perspective. But it doesn't mean when you get home, magically everything falls into place to protect that perspective. It gives us this responsibility of integration to then start adjusting these micro adjustments in our Slack, right? And for some of you listening, it might even be as simple, because just to make this real, you might be that person that if I look at your iPhone right now, it's nothing but notification, 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 notification. That new bumper might be my phone's in do not disturb 24/7, and I'm going to start filtering which ones come in and which ones don't, or I'm going to have quiet hours. And so I feel like it's the invitation to be able to do it. But the biggest missing piece for most people is not the integration, it's the support in that integration. It's that guidance, that leadership, that accountability, that safe space to know that it's not perfect. It's truthfully, it feels like my car's going to make it to the parking spot, except it's going to be duct taped, a couple spare tires on it, broken windshield, but I made it to the destination. And that's like the best way I think about it.
That's really good, man. I love that. What a great way to put it. Frame it up.
It's huge. There's so much to unpack. Like we could talk on these topics, like it just, the deeper you go. But the thing about it though is that I feel like at the surface level of all of this, you want to just turn that off? Ghost or something back there. It's like, just simplify it for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, don't overcomplicate it. Don't think this is a new strategy or a new thing that you need to like wrap your mind all the way around and like deep dive. Like it's just simple. Like, just find times of solitude and stillness in your day, and don't let your calendar control it. Don't let anyone control those times for you, and have that for you. It's really just simple.
Yeah, I think the hardest part, I love what you just said. I think the hardest part of me being at this phase of my life, I realized that if I just listened to every fortune cookie I ever read and just believed them, my life would be drastically different. Like, I don't know, like put your oxygen mask on before you put anybody else's on. We all joke about that. We've heard it 1,000 times and we're all like, oh my God, they were right. Holy moly, right? Or chop wood, carry water. And you're like, oh, there is no advocating myself out of this, right? Like, I don't know, I've read thousands of personal development books. I've read my Bible cover to cover. Everything's in my Bible. And I'm like, it's laid out right here. I just need to let my ego stop complicating this process and think I'm some special creature.
The answers are there.
They are.
Nothing new you're going to come up with. Like, you're not going to like have this aha moment that you came up. It's all there. It's just listening and tuning in.
It's true.
Yeah. Seeing
you guys will appreciate this because you're so big on stillness. This will only take me like 45 seconds to tell this story. But when I got done with that 2 to 3 years of silence, I was still running my retreats, running my events like I still am now. Except they used to be a lot bigger. I would have like 100 people in the audience. Now we cap it at 20, so it's intimate. And I was joking with all of them. And I was like, I bet you I can show you how to get a room full of all of you entrepreneurs to act like school children. And they're like, yeah, whatever. And I was like, all right, here's the deal. We're about to take a lunch break and I'm going to assign you a task and all of you have to blindly say yes. And it will only take 15 minutes. And like, okay, I'm going to brief all the rules. And then when we're done, we're not allowed to ask any questions. It's going to be really simple. There's only 2 things you need to do. Everybody agree you can do this without asking questions. They're like, yeah. I'm like, anybody willing to bet on it? And they're like, yeah, of course. I'm like, cool. I was like, here we go. We're about to take a break. You have a 1-hour break. The moment this door exits, when I say you're done, you are not allowed to speak. You have to go find a spot out on the lake in Montana in nature. You can't bring your phone. You can't bring your notebook. You can't bring a pen. You can't bring a piece of paper. Your job is just to go sit there and be for 15 minutes.
Love it.
And I was like, go. And then we broke and nobody got out of their seats. Every hand imaginable started going up. Well, what about this? Like, can I write this down? Can I do X? And I was like, I told you, like, there's such this deep aversion in us to actually just being. And it was like so predictable and clockwork, but we live in a world that conditions us that we are not allowed to be ourselves, to just be, right? Or like I take myself out to dinner like once a week alone, no phone. you would think that I belonged in an institution the way that people look at me. They don't know what to do with it. They're like, that dude is sitting there alone, just like looking around the restaurant. And I'm like, they think I need to be admitted. But this is something that like, it's life for us. Like it's being, and it's so like pushed against, but it's so powerful when we do it.
It's amazing.
Doesn't surprise me at all with your retreats.
No.
Like,
What did people end up leaving and going out the doors, or did they just
all did it? They all ended up doing it, but I made my point. I was like, I told you. And I was like, I just want you to realize how simple of a task this was. I just asked you to go sit still and stare at the lake for 15 minutes.
nothing.
literally the simplest task in the world?
And when they came back, because they went to lunch after that, some of them were like, I gotta be honest, I couldn't stay silent. I tried to talk to people. I tried to do X, Y, Z. And then some of them came back and they're like, that blew my mind. I've never allowed myself to do that. And, you know, it was a lesson for each and every one of us, because I still navigate this. Like there'll be times like I'm just driving in my car in silence, like I always do, because I joke, like our biggest challenge is we've never been quiet enough to hear God's whispers. He's there, but he makes you tune in to hear it. And I'll be driving, and without me even consciously recognizing it, my hand is picking up my phone and putting on a podcast or putting on a book, right? Or I'll get to my son's school to pick him up. And I'm like, oh, I'm so stoked. I'm going to get my son in 10 minutes. Yeah. And instead of me just sitting there and like looking for him, naturally, unconsciously, like I'll open my phone and start scrolling. Like I'm done with work. So it's this thing that like you have to constantly recondition and work through.
God, so true.
It's very difficult. I mean, we own the company, the solar retreat company. I have a book called The Art of a Solar Retreat, and we deal with this stuff every single day. Like,
all the time.
Like no one can perfect it, but it's just, the whole thing is just progress and like being intentional and aware that, okay, I'm grabbing my phone. There goes the scroll. And I just see ourselves in 20 years, all our thumbs, like the carpal tunnel, like it's going to be so bad, like no joke.
Like, just got like these thumbs that can't move.
We can't move.
But it's like one thumb.
Yes. And there's going to be like thumb institutes.
We're like
100%.
Gonna happen, dude.
Up. Yeah, why are you giving me a thumbs up all the time, Kyle?
or the fact that I'm only like a 5'7" man and I have small hands and I got a sore on my pinky because I always brace the bottom of my phone with my pinky. One day I looked down and I was like, there is a mark in my finger. That is a problem.
I'm most scared to look at mine. I don't
that is a problem. So we have to start to land this plane, but I have a specific question for both of you as we near landing this, at least for round one. I'm sure we'll do round two. We could probably do round 30 because we could unpack each one of these things for a full episode.
We just do a different podcast.
Do it in Montana.
Definitely in Montana. You guys are close enough. If you had control over everybody listening to this right now, and when they're done listening to this episode, like they could do one thing this week that they haven't done before, right? What is it that you would wish on every single one of them, that they owed it to themselves? There'd be nothing but positive gain if they did it. Like, what would you have them do, and how would you have them do it?
Go for it.
I would say, what I would say is I would have them carve out an hour on their calendar. And all you can take is a journal and a pen. And what you're going to write on your journal and your pen, you're going to create a little graph. And in that, or a little chart. On the left side will be activity. On the middle side will be how you rank it on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being you don't get a ton of enjoyment out of it, or a little bit of enjoyment, and 5 being this is pure bliss. And then the last column is going to be how many times a month do you do that? Spend an hour reflecting on the things that they may have not done that they get so much enjoyment out of. For example, like mountain biking, right? For me, that's like a 5 out of 5. And I reflect back and I'm like, okay, I do that once a month. I want to do that more. So to me, that paints the picture of, and then it just goes down from there. Think of the thing, the activity, the happiness scale, how many times a month?
Oh, I love that. Love that. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think it's good. Mine kind of isn't. Mine's way different. My like first like reaction of what to say, and I wouldn't even say it's like in the positive field. I think truly being aware of your excuses in life,
yes,
really being aware of them, like in like what's stopping you from where you actually need to go is typically an excuse. excuses are just things,
Yeah.
they're just lies. That's all they are. They're just things that we're lying to ourselves about, and starting to be aware of like, oh, I can't do this because of this. Like those moments, if you can start picking those out and start seeing like, wow, these are just, this is what's stopping me, is my own psyche. It's me. It's not the meeting that's on my calendar. You can cancel or reschedule that. It's not whatever. Like, just be aware of your excuses. Three. And if you try to pick up 3, you'll probably pick up 30 of them within a 4-hour period. Like, it's really easy, but it just, that's the beginning of like really good, solid self-awareness. And I know you said like a lot of your listeners, they have that foundation, but we all backslide.
Yeah.
And maybe we haven't looked at it in that way before. So just
Yep.
kind of start searching for them. And sure enough, like your thoughts and everything will come together, and more just awareness and intention in your day.
I
Like-
love that.
Like the way that I start my day, you know, we've been doing this practice for a long time, is most of us either have our coffee maker just on auto, or we just go over and flip it on. Well, what if you actually went and took the time and presence of making your coffee and having gratitude and say, thank you for the individuals that grew these coffees.
Yes.
Or coffees, these
Through
beans,
these coffees.
growing the coffees, like grow these beans. Wow. Who was the engineer that built this cup? Like, small things like that, of moments of silly gratitude, what that'll do to start your day and your mindset moving forward. Huge. Like huge.
Yeah.
I love everybody here, because Eli talked about this earlier, or Kyle talked about this earlier. The biggest breakthroughs in our life don't come from when somebody tells us what to do. It comes from us choosing to do it. And what I love about this bifurcation is there's 2 specific exercises that you get to choose from. You can do both. You can do one. You can do the other. But I highly encourage and invite you to at least do one. Whether it's make the happiness list or make the excuses list. And I will tell you, one of the most profound things I did at the beginning of this year, I had one of my mentors who's a pastor. He was calling me out on my excuses because I was in like victim mode. And he's like, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give you one prompt to pray on with a pen and paper. And he said, I want you to write on the top of the paper, God, please show me. God, please show me everywhere where I claim to be a certain way or hold somebody accountable to being a certain way that I don't hold myself to.
It's huge.
Wow.
And when I say, I'm like, oh, I got nothing in that. The moment one hit the paper, I was crying. I had a list that I have never seen before in my life. And I was like, well, I found my answer. And every single one of them was nothing more than an excuse. And so I think the thing that I would say to everybody is also, you are the only unique you. And no matter how much advice, how many books, how many podcasts you read and listen to, at the end of the day, the only decision that sticks is the one that you choose and you're willing to go explore. And so I love the way that you guys frame those exercises. And so I'm going to have everything linked in the show notes for you guys. But I know the website is soloretreat.co, right?
That's it.
Soloretreat.co. What's the IG so everybody can DM you?
Just Solo Retreat Co. at solo_retreat. Solo.
You'll find it. I'll have it linked. And I have an invitation for everybody, because I have one final question I end the show with, and you guys are profound thinkers. So I'm going to ask you this one. But at minimum, everybody, what I would say is, whichever one of those exercises you choose, and I have an honest question actually for both of you. What percentage of people listening do you think are actually going to do one of those 2 exercises?
25%.
I would land around that 30, 25.
And I would say 80% of those people are going to do the happiness one.
So I would say this, because somebody asked me that question before, and I was like, nailed it. If you're one of those 25% of people, one of the biggest ways to be accountable and have breakthroughs is to be witnessed in it. And so whichever one of those exercises that you do, I invite you to take a picture of it and DM it to us.
Yeah.
That would be instrumental.
awesome.
And
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
That'd be so cool.
That would be very cool. Love that.
I would say you're worth it. It won't be shared. It'll just be supported. But I promise you, the moment you're witnessed in it, whatever that result is, 1 excuse, 4 excuses, 77, or the happiness thing, that's what starts to edify this clarity and allows us to integrate it. And so that's my invitation. At least shoot it to them, because they'll text me and I'll know.
Love it.
But do yourself the favor if you're in that bucket. And if you're listening to this and you're like, Yeah, they called me out. I'm at 75%. I invite you to move into the other side because the question I would pose is, what do you have to lose?
True.
It's only positive to gain. And so here's my last question for both of you. And I want an answer from each of you. I want you to imagine that everybody listening just got Men in Blacked and forgot absolutely everything that we talked about. They don't remember anything. They have no frame, no context. But you have the ability to tattoo a piece of wisdom onto their soul right now that they will take with them forever. Can be short, can be one line, can be a long, can be thought. But I want to know what each of your tattoo wisdoms is for everybody listening.
We had we have a advisor, mentor, someone we truly look up to. His name's Scott Ballard, and do you know Scott?
Yeah, I know. I'm Scott. Yep.
Oh wow! And he said something to us when he really stepped into us, and he looked at us straight in the eye, and he said, "I believe in you."
Mm.
And I get chills. And I don't think I've ever had anyone ever tell me that they actually believed in me. He said, Eli, you might not believe in yourself, but I believe in you. And like that was one of the most powerful moments that I've ever experienced and that we try to share constantly with people is yes, like that tattooed item that you're talking about. I instantly want to say solitude is stillness, but know that there's 3 people on this podcast that truly believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes you to believe in yourself first.
Mm.
Change.
So good.
If I were to jump in, I would be taking a big on authenticity, be yourself, all that. There's a quote by Oscar Wilde that I would leave with these Men in Black people, which would be yourself, everybody else is taken.
Yeah.
That one to me just screams authenticity.
Oh, I love both of those. And I think that that's the best place to land the 747 with duct tape.
Oh, we've put it down.
We put it down. We landed, everybody. We landed. And gentlemen, I just I thank you for taking time out of your day, for being so vulnerable, for being so authentic, for sharing so openly with everybody on the show. Like it's truly been an honor and a gift to have you guys on the show.
Thank you so much, man. This is one of the best shows we've been on. I loved every part of it. Seriously.
Amazing. Thank you. And stick around for a minute. So for everybody listening, I will be the broken record and say this again. Whatever you do, don't allow what you heard to become shelf help. No matter how many times I have to say it, no matter how many times I have to nudge you, I know that you're worth it. So whether it's going to reflect for the first time, whether it's understanding that you've never lived a day in your life if you've never pooped without your phone, if it's I've never added structure or my wheels are spinning or I've never faced my excuses or I've never actually given myself the time to love myself, I would submit and I would be a betting man on my life that something in this podcast landed for every single one of you in some bucket. That is what I consider the voice of God and the path that's laying out for you to follow. But the only way that you win is if you take that step and head in that direction. Head into it with curiosity, head into it with possibility. And like they both said, head into it with authenticity and an unwavering belief in yourself that you are worth exploring what is ever on the other side of that thing that resonated. Because as much as we love you, as much as I love you, I cannot fly through this computer and kick you in the shins. And so consider this your kick in the shins, lovingly with my pink shoes. But I'm going to urge you to take something to heart. And at minimum, do this because you're worth it. If you want the A, I'll give you a gold star. I'll bake you a chocolate chip cookie and I will deliver it to you when you come to Montana. Take a picture of one of these exercises or one of these moments or one of these takeaways and share it with us so that we can celebrate with you and support you. So at the end of the day, I say this a lot and I will say this again. Relationships will always beat algorithms, but the one that's the most important is the one that you have with yourself. And no one can force you to focus on that relationship but you. So this is your invitation. So we'll either see you in the next episode or you'll hear me in your earballs. But either way, we out.